Karleen Leveille. Today we have a special episode on women in business on Long Island. But before we get started to meet our panelists, let's take a look at Long Island's history with innovation and women.
Long Island has an innovative history. We built airplanes during the war, created the spaceships that put man on the moon, and even developed the first video game. However, the most notable part of Long Island history is the women that powered and shaped Long Island's innovation. Women such as Joy Mangano, who's a modern-day inventor of products that you've probably seen on QVC. There's also the women air service pilots who tested and ferried aircrafts during the war, and the women who also worked in the factories in that time. It's a new decade, and the power of women's innovation on Long Island thrives. Today, we feature members from Long Island Women in Tech, a supportive community of technologists providing mentorship, career development, and education to women and girls on Long Island.
Welcome back. You guys are in for a treat. We have women from Long Island Women in Tech who are going to give us their secrets, their secret sauce, and everything you need to know about being a woman in business and in tech. So I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves right now.
Hi, I am Neetu Rajpal. I've been building software for 20 plus years, first at Microsoft and then at Conductor. For a few months now, I've just been exploring some ventures of my own in the healthcare space.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Leah Burgess, founder of Social Vibe Marketing. It's a marketing company in Long Island, and proud director of Long Island Women in Tech, and also the chair for the WIT Network, Long Island.
Okay, and the Women in Technology as well.
Yeah, and that one's backed by Microsoft.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Stefana Muller. I'm the founder and president of Long Island Women in Tech, and I'm also a senior product manager at a company called Second Watch. We're a consulting firm that does cloud consulting, Amazon Web Services, and Azure, and Google Cloud.
Okay, and I know what Long Island Women in Tech is. In fact, we have your tribe here, clearly, but we also have your tribe in the back. Shout out to Kathy, who's directing. Whoop, whoop. She's here. But for the lady out there who doesn't know, what is Long Island Women in Tech, and how did it come about?
I think Stefana should answer that question.
Sure. So I think it was about 5 years ago now, 2015. I had just come back from Anita Borg Institute's conference, Grace Hopper Celebration. It was a great conference. It was inspiring. Megan Smith stood on stage. She's a former CTO of the United States, right? And she stood on stage and she said, when you go back home, do something that makes a difference in your community. And I said, okay, I'm going to do something. I'm going to start networking myself and help myself grow in my career. Started traveling into New York City. At least once or twice a week. It was a lot of work, but I ended up going and meeting with people like me, which is really cool. The interesting thing is, it was an hour in, it was late at night, it took a lot of effort for me to do these things off hours, right, after work. So I said, let me find a networking group that's close by. And I searched meetup.com. And they did not have a networking group for women in tech. And I said, you know what, I'm just gonna found it. So I created this group. At first we had like 5 people, they were all my friends. We had so I set up the first meeting. And the first meeting, I had no expectations. We ended up doing some resume reviews, you know, and it was more career building, learning how to build your resume, and 40 people showed up. So that's how it started, and it's really inspirational to me because I didn't think it would go anywhere. We now have 600 members.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Impressive. I will say, I know about that trek from Long Island to the city, and you know, railroad people, Long Island Railroad, we love you, but you know, the time, you know, and you know, the best place to do it is in your backyard, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So we run events, right, close by. So Leanne runs them on the North Shore, I run them on the South Shore. We do coffee meetups. We do once a month webinars. So if you can't get out of work for a meetup, you can definitely join a 1-hour webinar during your lunch and interact on that webinar. It's not just us speaking at you, but you can actually interact with others and network while you're at your desk.
Right, and that's vital. So not only can people get involved, you know, physically if they have obligations, if they have families, or I mean, even if they're not, you know, we know Long Island stretches some miles, they can still participate, and that's great to be inclusive in that manner. What has been the impact for members who joined, or you know, or the impact overall that you've seen because of this group?
I was looking for, I'm a recent member. I've only been a member for maybe a year or so, or a little bit less. And my story was pretty much the same. I was trekking to the city. There were a lot of people to talk to in the city, but I kind of wanted somebody close. So I was happy to find them. And for me personally, it's been really great to be able to like just reach out to people and actually meet them for coffee. And it's been like really impactful for the past several months, at least, when I've been working out of my house. And
Yes.
you know, that I can trek into the city and hang out with people, but it's been a lot better to just be able to hang out with people closer to me and reach out and ask questions. Like I definitely asked like technical questions on the channels as well, and it's been very helpful for me.
How did you discover it? I mean, I know that I stumbled upon it with a really, like, I guess, focused Google search, but, you know, how did you know to find, you know, or to even see if there was a tribe here for you?
Actually, quite by luck as well. I did a Bing search. It's former Microsoft.
I was about to say, no, Bing.
So I did a Bing search, and I was just looking for women's networking groups, and I found Long Island Women in Tech.
And it's the real deal.
It is the real deal.
deal.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's the real deal. Really smart, educated, helpful people in the group, and they're very like giving, and it's been very helpful.
What about you?
As far as finding Long Island Women in Tech, it was like I wanted to get more involved in seeing where I can help. And then I found Long Island Women Tech website, and so there was like a call for volunteers, and I'm like, oh, I could totally help with like social and, you know, help with whatever marketing. And I spoke to Stefana like probably like within the week of you know, reaching out, and she was probably as excited. Yeah, no, let's do
Yes,
it, you know?
please.
And, yeah, and it's almost 2 years ago now. So. But impactful, like I enjoy doing, like we do Lean Coffee Fridays. We've been together at them, and we just started doing them more on the North Shore, because like I try to go to the South Shore. Coming from the North Shore, it's a little difficult in the morning sometimes, so we've been able to like expand and meet new members face to face, and you really learn a lot about just everybody. Everyone has a different point of view and background, and can kind of help each other out. And every meetup's different. You know, one new member comes, and that's a whole new conversation. So.
I love the Lean Coffee setup. It allows us to have a small group setting. Even though we have 600 members, you get 10 people in a room. You know, obviously a coffee shop, local coffee shop, helping the local businesses. But what ends up happening is everyone gets to contribute to the conversation. So in Lean Coffee, we use a Kanban style board, bunch of sticky notes. Everyone submits their ideas. Everyone gets to vote on the ideas or the topics that we're going to discuss. It's a timed conversation, so not one conversation gets the whole 50 minutes to 60 minutes. And everyone really gets to contribute. I love that structure. I learned it at a coffee meetup in New York City and brought it back to Long Island. And it's actually one of the ways that we've been able to grow the connection of our group, and our group has grown tremendously over the past maybe 1.5 years that we've been running these.
Wow. Let me just say that for me, it's smart, right, to do a vote on the topics, but I'm also having some internal conflict because you know, if I'm passionate about something and you're like, that's it, I'm like, I gotta say more.
Wait, Leanne, what do we do when we want to continue?
We vote up.
We vote,
come up
right?
discussing the topic, yeah.
So if we finish our 5 minutes of talk, we can vote to continue. I'm not sure, or we're done with the conversation.
The thumb down is kind of good, yeah.
And that's part of Lean Coffee. It allows you to structure the conversation, not allow that conversation to go on if only one person wants it, but it does provide a building of consensus across the group. I do like that the idea is if you want to get your point across, you get the time to do it.
But there's also like, if there's sometimes these coffee meetups end up being like, if you have more to talk about, then you take the conversation out of the coffee shop, right?
Yes.
Like, so Stefana has been very good with just starting like Slack channels that are like specific for that particular topic. So, so I think you can continue to be passionate about whatever you want to be passionate about.
And on the Slack channel, just to piggyback, if you are not able to get to the Lean Coffee, but you kind of want to see what the main topics are, you could jump on a thread and contribute still and see, like, you know, what the conversation was.
I like that you guys are on Slack. You know, so for the person who's watching who's like, Slack, like you're slacking off. No. Slack is a messaging app that if you have an account or you can join, you can get in certain groups. And Long Island Women in Tech has a Slack channel. You can talk. And so I'm on the Slack channel. I feel like I'm pretty hip because I'm on it. You know, which is two things I did. Because you guys are technical, right? Well, talking about technical, I think I want to look at you guys even more because, you know, we got Microsoft using Bing and we got some social marketing, but you told me last time we talked, I think about, you know, finding like some security breach so it goes deep, goes deep, and then here, Kanban systems, which I know you like Kanban, it's the whole methodology. But I want to take a look at women in technology across the national scale, and then we'll be right back. So take a look at this video.
The number of women in technology is still at an all-time low. Although women make up almost half of the workforce, women only held roughly 20% of technology jobs. According to the company Adeva, that number is lower than the numbers in the 1980s. On a granular scale, girls are still falling behind in STEM education. According to a Women in Tech report by PricewaterhouseCoopers, 83% of boys in high school opt for STEM courses and projects versus 64% of girls. There are programs that are working to thwart those statistics, and with strong examples and mentors, that 64% can increase significantly.
Welcome back. So you just heard the numbers. Women are not getting into technology or running it just like our male counterparts. But there is hope. We have panelists from Long Island Women in Tech, all women who are in tech, and so we're gonna dive deep. I'm gonna start in the middle because I know you probably thought I was coming in there. No, I'm in the middle.
I'm totally good with middle.
So you guys are actually, I guess, I don't want to say above the bunch, but you guys are not following the trends, right? What made you get into technology, which I guess can seem to be intimidating for women, as according to the statistic? So what made you jump in and say, I can do it? I don't know if that's how you said it. I feel like it was like, I can do it.
I think it was like more of a natural progress, you know, like kind of working in a tech field early on. I worked in healthcare IT back in 2004. Ooh. That was like my first like taste of tech, and I loved like the healthcare field, and I loved tech, and then, you know, things changed over the years, and having a family business at the time, 2008, we were building out like niche e-commerce sites and selling eco-friendly products and that kind of thing, and then I had to market those products, so I got more into marketing and leveraging things like social media, and so it kind of naturally evolved, going in from, all right, I know how to do this, and I enjoy doing this and helping people, and I can make a business from it. So it just kind of evolved into that, and there's a lot of tech in marketing too, with automation, there's AI in tech, there's so much, And then there's always been like that data background for me. So data analytics has been a big part of my business and working in marketing. It all is relative.
You just were like, I'm going to take it all.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. What about you?
So I guess you could say I dropped out of college. And my mother said to me, so what are you going to do with your life? You know, and I was a top student, and I dropped out because they wouldn't let me in their tech class because I needed some prerequisites that were ridiculous, and you needed to get in high school, which I didn't take because it wasn't offered. And I could go down the path of, I walked into the computer room to sign up, and there was a bunch of guys there, and they all looked at me and asked if I was in the wrong spot. So the answer is I quit right after that, and I said, I'm going to find a way. I'm going to find a way into tech. I love this story because my mom actually forced it, right? She's always been an inspiration to me, and she did it. She said, oh, I want to take this tech class, Stefana. Why don't you take it with me so you can help me? She didn't want to take the tech class, I'll promise you that. But she took the class, and it was a CompTIA A+ certification. So I'll plug them because they've definitely helped me build my career. And it forced me into this technology field. I didn't think I could get in with just college alone. I needed that certification at the time, and that's almost 20 years ago, right? So I built my career up from the ground up. I was in customer service initially and tech support, and then managed the tech support teams, and then went into product management and started building new products for companies. And I worked in software, in services, a little bit of hardware as well.
I just want to highlight the moms because, you know, and not, your mom is young, but, you know, thinking about your mom saying that I'm going to do this at a time when, like you said, you walked into a room, it was all men, is really profound. And so for anyone who's watching, you know, whether you like tech or not, you can influence someone's life just the same way. So, you know, homage to your mom.
My mom still calls me for tech support, though I haven't done that in about 19 years. But, you know, I do love that she created this opportunity for me by telling me she wanted to learn it. And then it ended up me kicking off my career. So definitely a story for her to tell into her ripe old age.
And me too.
My parents immigrated from India when I was a teenager, and it's a pretty standard immigrant story. You have no money, so my parents sat me down and said, you are Indian, you have two choices. You can either be a doctor or an engineer. So basically my parents encouraged me and demanded that I be successful. And their primary motivation was financial security. And I think that's one of the things that we fall short of telling our girls these days, which is every company is a tech company, regardless of what your interest is. If you have a tech or software or programming background, you can be guaranteed to be financially secure, you can be guaranteed to be independent, you can be guaranteed to be free. And I think that's the part that we fall short of telling our kids, and sometimes I think that's what the kids need to hear. I appreciate all of the soft messages, but I think some of the hard messages need to be conveyed as well, you know. And similar to Stefana, my mom gave me that message quite a bit. She says she was a stay-at-home mom, which is like a perfectly fine and wonderful thing, but she always felt like financial independence for her meant she needed to have her own money, and she always just pushed me to make sure that I wasn't dependent on anyone. And I think that's the message that we need to tell our girls and our boys, right? I have two boys, so yeah, I think that's the message that resonated the most with me. I was already motivated to be successful, and they just showed me a path.
Right. And your path that you identified with.
Definitely a path that I identified with. I was inclined toward math and science early on, and it was a path that I could take, and I could mold it into whichever shape and form I wanted, and my parents pretty much pushed me into that direction. Yeah.
Let's talk about tech on Long Island, right? Because we already know that Long Island Women in Tech was launched because we were leaving, right? We were leaving our island to go to another island, and we've built it here. So, you know, and you said you've been going for 5 years, but you guys have been in tech for, we're going to keep it young.
20.
You cool with the 20?
Yeah,
you cool with the 20? Cool with the 20? For over 20 years. 20 years. They started at 10. For over 20 years. But let's look at, is Long Island doing enough? And this is not to poke or to say, hey, Long Island, you suck. That's not the case at all. We're here. Hello. But, you know, is Long Island doing enough? And if it is, what is it that it's doing that's great? And then if it isn't, what can they do to be better?
So I have an opinion on this.
Yeah.
I think it shows that some little meetup group growing on Long Island, there is no other. And that is a struggle for me. You go to other cities, you can find a ton of places to meet up with people who are doing this work, even remote cities. Long Island has over 7 million people. And yet we have one group of 600 women who are in tech. To me, it feels like there should be more done. For example, in Brooklyn, there has been a surge of startup funding sponsored by the heads of the government there to help build startups. For example, the resurgence of Red Hook. Mm-hmm. Why not the rest of Long Island? I feel that we could do more there to help surge those startup businesses, tech startups specifically, so that we can build new jobs here locally so that we don't all have to commute.
I've been experimenting with my own venture for a few months now, and I totally resonate with everything you've said. It's been extremely hard to do simple things like find a place to go work that is not my house, right? And there are no incubators on Long Island except for probably one or so in Huntington. Mm-hmm. There is no place to just hang out and talk to other people who are doing similar things. I tried very hard to find somebody on Long Island who would help me figure out how to get a small business grant from the NSF because I'm looking in the healthcare space. There's tons of healthcare business on Long Island, but none that is focused on tiny entrepreneurs, woman or man. I think they all have the same problem. And there are no people to talk to who are easily findable or who I can go meet easily. Get a cup of coffee means a whole day because you have to drive from one end of the island to the other end of the island for a 45-minute meeting, and then it's like 5 hours are gone, right? Mm-hmm. But that is I could spend those 5 hours going into the city and get 4 coffee meetings, right? So just being able to connect with the right-minded people to be able to explore that is not possible. And also, I'm not sure that the government needs, I think there needs to be more done for tech-focused businesses on Long Island. There is, I think, some stuff to do for non-tech-focused businesses, but the entrepreneurship for tech-focused businesses, there is very little support that I've found.
Yeah, I absolutely hear you. It's been a challenge for me because I still want to foster the environment here on Long Island, and I want to see more local people come out to our events. But distance, we just talked about this, 20 miles across, 108 miles wide, right? So it's a lot of distance to travel to get to an event. We need to find ways to make more local businesses grow, and it can't just be mom and pop shops that are using brick and mortar work, right? It should be more tech businesses. That's where the growth is in the economy. We should be fostering those businesses locally.
I think those are all great suggestions. And I think, so a part of that I would say is also advocacy, right?
Yes.
Like really advocating. So you hear it right now, we are advocating for all those suggestions right there. And I think there's possibility because you said 5 years ago, 5 friends.
Yep.
Now we're sitting here, North Shore Television, 600 plus.
Yes.
Right? So we're growing strong, and I think people are taking notice. especially now?
There's definitely a movement, and we feel it. We feel more engagement from local colleges and universities. We feel more engagement from local high schools even. So it's really exciting to see. Even the robotics programs that are fostered by local high schools have been growing tremendously over the past few years. I didn't have that in high school. Now my daughter is participating in it. So it's really great to see other local organizations like Girls Inc. and Girl Scouts of Nassau County and Suffolk County. They have specifically worked with us to help build and foster that environment for young girls to get up into tech. So it is working. Things are happening. I feel like there could be a ton more.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think that's a charge I want to take with you.
Absolutely.
And I'm sending that charge to the person who's watching. So I want to dig deep into what you guys do, because I know you mentioned what your businesses were or is. But before we do that, I want to look at it on a national scale. So let's take a quick moment to look at this video, and we'll be right back.
Starting a business is hard. However, according to a 2017 report by the Service Corps of Retired Executives, women are 20% more likely to start a business than men. Also, women entrepreneurs are 5% more likely to start innovative businesses than men. Plus, women-owned businesses generate over $1.5 trillion in sales, according to the National Association of Women Business Owners.
So you heard, women are bringing in over $1.5 trillion, not million, trillion dollars in sales. So business and entrepreneurship is clearly our forte, but we're not jumping in as much. But these ladies are. So first, I feel like I should sell something, but I won't. Wrong time. But I want to talk about being women entrepreneurs. You know, it's one thing that you guys took on tech, right? You took on this behemoth, right? Because technically, according to statistics, odds are against us in terms of our male counterparts. Like, we're not catching up. But not only did you do tech, so you punch that out, you're like, I'm gonna start a business too in it. And then you have families, you got kids. How? So tell me about your business, what you're doing, and how about you drop like the one step that you did to really make it a reality? How about that?
So I've always wanted to start my own tech company, and I am very motivated by transforming businesses through tech. And it's extreme. Since every company is a tech company, there are so many businesses that are essentially get disrupted as soon as you bring technology into it. They get disrupted because the flow that they had before is now more optimized, or everything that used to take a long time to do now takes very little time, or it's cheaper. And you see this across the board. You know, Uber came in and transformed how we take transportation from one place to another. Airbnb did the same thing. And if you go even further back, JetBlue actually did this for the airline industry and Southwest. So there's been innovation in each one of these industries for a long time. Personally speaking, mine is very small, and and it's personal motivation based on like experiences in the healthcare space. Got sick, I am fine. But going through that experience of interacting with our current healthcare system, it just felt very much like this is just simple. I can fix it, and it was a feeling that I couldn't suppress. It took me. It was like months and months and months of me trying to ignore it. But for a while, it was just like no. All of these things, I can fix many of these things just by applying the right level of tech to it. And so I decided that I was going to leave my job as a CTO and a CPO and try to see if I can go find the right small problem that I could solve applying tech. And as an engineer, solving problems is like the most fascinating thing to do. It is all about trying to find the right problem and finding the right solution for it. So that's what I've been doing for a bit. And I think the thing that I want to focus on the most is is applying how do I bring more influence for the health consumers into the healthcare space. Right now, health consumers, also called patients, cover about over $300 billion of out-of-pocket costs. Out-of-pocket costs are all things like insurance payments, premiums, co-payments, deductibles, everything you buy over the counter, everything that you pay out of pocket for mental health services or chiropractor or physical therapy. All of these things come straight out of your pocket. And over the past 10 years, this amount of money the amount of money coming out of your pocket has gone up dramatically, but at the same time, you don't have a lot of control over how much you spend, where you spend it, and there's, I think, a lot of opportunity to bring some sanity to the system in a way where you have some control over how much money am I spending for me and my family just to be able to provide health care. And there are lots and lots of issues with healthcare, but this is the one I'm trying to focus on at this moment.
You taking on a whole other behemoth right here. Like, I mean, healthcare, then you throwing some tech, but in all of that, what I'm hearing is, as an entrepreneur, for you, it's not just about it's about finding a problem you want to solve.
It is absolutely, like, entrepreneurship is essentially, I think it's an exercise in passion, and you cannot be passionate about things that you're not interested in solving. So you have to find the problem that you really want to solve. You may not know how to solve it, but that you have to find the one that you're interested in solving that drives you, because there are lots and lots of very, very low lows in this journey, right? You feel alone, you feel left out, you feel like you can't find a way out, and the state of tech in healthcare is probably 30 years behind where I need it to be, and just the political power involved and the large institutions involved and the absolutely having no say from the consumer's perspective. It is not an easy space to walk into, and but if that's what drives you, then you kind of have no option but to do it, right? So yes, healthcare is. We'll see.
We'll see. I'm confident you're going to transform it. I'm probably going to have to invest early.
Absolutely. I agree.
Leanne?
Yes. So my business is Social by Marketing, which provides all kinds of marketing services focusing on social media and how to leverage your business and create a unique voice for a company. I work with a lot of companies in Long Island. I'd probably gravitate more towards the tech-related companies, and I enjoy finding a solution and to help them. So I've always been very transparent with everybody I work with, and that's just who I am. So all of my business has actually been word of mouth and referral. I've actually never advertised, just because I get referred a lot from people I've worked with and retained over the years. Starting the business as a single mom, that was my best choice and my biggest challenge. Having to start out 6 years ago raising 3 little kids who are now 8, 10, and 12. It was probably more overwhelming, feeling like if I had to get a job, a 9 to 5, who would take care of the kids? Who would be there for the kids? Who was going to raise the kids? It was going to be me, but so that was a huge, huge challenge. Also having people tell me that as a single mom, you're not going to be able to have a business. How are you going to have a business? You have kids. Okay, well, how am I going to raise my kids and provide for them, So that was a huge challenge. It was also a motivator to hear people tell me oh, you don't have enough people. Oh, how are you going to work? You have 3 kids. I have to. There's no option, I definitely had some people early on who, I guess maybe looking for some kind of validation from people who were very close to me and not getting it became a big motivator. All right, I'll show you. I'm just going to do it, And I did. I have my boyfriend Felix, who's in the background.
Shout out to Felix.
Yeah. who actually invested in my business early on. So that was huge. And he's been my sounding board for like any ideas, you know, and just things that I want to like branch off and do. And he's also been an inspiration because he's such a big tech guy that I've gotten deeper into tech because of it. So that's that in a nutshell.
So if I'm hearing correctly, so resource for you, obviously the motivation and the drive, right? Because when you start a business, there's a lot of that, you're gonna start a business and you gonna do it. And when I say you, I mean women, you know, you're gonna do it. And then your moms, right? You know, you have children. So obviously strong confidence, motivation, maybe an investor if you can get one, or a sounding board, someone who can give you the real things you need to hear, not telling you no, but saying if you are, consider this. Right? Is that accurate?
Yeah, definitely. Yep.
So I have a bit of a different story because I do work at a company that is a late-stage startup. I did work in tech for about 16 years at a very large company, and I loved what I did. I was a product manager, and I was building new software products and in the DevOps space, which is where development meets operations. Definitely Google it. So when I was in the DevOps space, I really enjoyed that work. Though at the large company, I didn't have the freedom to expand beyond my role. Right? There was a lot of restriction. You have to get numbers. You have to reach this achievement. Goals were handed down. So I decided after 16 years and working for one company, which is a long time nowadays, but I'm a lifer, right? That's the thing. I'll back up a bit. My parents are immigrants as well, and they taught me that you get a job and you keep it forever, you know, and you make sure that you do well and you continue to advance and continue to grow your earning potential that way. So leaving the company after 16 years was really stressful for me, but I did it. And thank goodness I did, I'll be honest. So it not only helped me focus more on Long Island Women in Tech, which is my passion project, and it's a nonprofit, but it also helped me grow my career on the other side. So I am still in product management, but I'm actually shifted from software into professional services and managed services. This is for large companies. So I work at a company called Second Watch. We are a cloud consulting and managed services company. We help large companies build or move their infrastructure to cloud. So cloud would be Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud, or Azure, which is the Microsoft Azure platform. And almost every company out there today is doing this, right? It's not just moving to cloud though, it's also helping you manage your cloud, it's helping you secure that environment, it's helping you optimize it for cost and all that fun stuff. So this is where we focus, and I really enjoy the work because I feel like an entrepreneur in that job. I'm given free rein to figure out where the niche is that we need to solve, the problems that we need to solve. I find those problems, I solve them, and I help my team deliver on that resolution. So I think that's why I love my job so much, and I enjoy working for my company because they also foster me continuing to run Long Island Women in Tech on the side.
So you touched on something that I think a lot of people don't necessarily consider with jobs that they might be lifers at, that there's a possibility to be an entrepreneur inside their organization. And the word for that is intrapreneurship, right? And so you found a place where you can be creative, where you can build something unique. And maybe that's also a springboard for that person who's watching to say, well, I'm not ready to jump out yet, but maybe I can build something in here and then move.
Absolutely. I think it's helpful because having a steady income, and you know this as entrepreneurs, is one of the barriers to being an entrepreneur. So I was able to kind of have both with my full-time day job and being an entrepreneur, and then also with Long Island Women in Tech. Also, I have the challenge of having children, having a husband who travels often, having to travel for work as well, and having the ability to work from home, which is one of the best things I've ever done in my career, in case anyone was wondering. Having that ability to work from home helps me be part of my kids' lives, be invested in my own life, and be invested in my career as well.
So for the woman who's out there, right, mulling over the idea of starting a business, was there a perfect time or is there an optimal time to start a business?
No. I don't know that there is a absolute perfect time to start a business or to branch out on your own. It's a large step, and I think there are a couple of things you really have to make sure exist. One, if you happen to have a family, then you want to be very precise about, like, do you have enough money to survive, right? Like, unless you were born with a silver spoon in your mouth, you're just going to have to figure out how you pay for yourself and your family for a long time. It'll take a while to figure out the right thing to build and to build it and to acquire customers and to build revenue, especially for, if you're doing a services-based business, you could probably offer services right away and start making some revenue. But if you're building a software product, then you're just investing in it for a long time before you see a single dime of anything. And so I think just on the practical level, making sure you can actually survive a year or two without having an income is important. The second thing is you want to be sure that you're passionate enough to go do it, and you want to leave no options open for you to back out. So like Cortez, just go burn all your ships at that point, right? And jump off the edge and see where it leads you. It's going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to feel terrifying. You're going to be crying in the corner at the midnight. You're not alone. Every single person does that. But that is the journey. The journey is to just jump off the cliff and see where you'll land. And but if you have passion for what you want to do, then that's that. So like, take care of the practicalities of life and then jump off.
I would say sometimes there's maybe a life event that happens that you have to start. You know, it might not be your perfect time. I'll relate it to myself. It's kind of like I had to. And so it wasn't probably the perfect time, but you make it work. If you're going to start something, like Neetu said, definitely something you're passionate about. If you start a business just because you heard it makes a lot of money in that niche, don't do it. You're going to fail, like 100%. If you follow something only for the money, it's not going to work. You have to make sure that you're truly passionate and invested in that business idea. But it could be the best time to start the business when you least expect it to start it.
So I like the idea of jumping off the cliff, though I am extremely conservative. So what I mean by that is I am very nervous about failing, right? And one of the ways that I've gotten to be an entrepreneur is by testing the waters a bit and doing some nonprofit work on the side. Intrapreneurship can help you grow that muscle, if you would, in being an entrepreneur. That can help you start. And is there a best time for it? If you find a niche that really matters to you, if you find a problem that you know you can solve, that's the time. You don't have to wait. You don't have to wait until you have 2 years of money backed up, right? Not all of us have that, and we all have this challenge, right?
Yeah.
What you do need is a passion and a path, and give yourself a plan, and know when you're going, what is pass or fail. Figure out what your pass or fail is, and then you go. And that helps me understand whether I should continue down this path or if I should shift and what we call in the startup world, pivot to something else.
All great tips and advice. Now I feel like I should go somewhere.
One resource I'd like to highlight is the Muller Business Institute. And there's a lot of free resources for businesses that you can go in anytime and use. It's based in the library. They also have business expos and also do like networking events there too. So if you want to test the waters a little bit or you want to get a little bit more information on things, it's a great place to go. There's also a website for it too, so you can get a bunch of information on there.
And because we're magical, the websites are pretty up on the screen.
It's going to appear. That's amazing. Technology, you know.
Yeah.
What's that one lesson that you've learned as entrepreneurs or intrapreneurs that you didn't know right away starting a business, but you've learned, and you're like, this is what I've learned. I got to pass this on. What would you pass on? So what's that one lesson? I know there's probably millions, you know, and that we'll save that for a part 2 and maybe a part 3. But what's that lesson that you learned?
I remember very distinctly being paralyzed, maybe a decade ago or so into my career, being very paralyzed because I was too afraid to fail. I did not want to fail because failure feels like death.
I've been there.
It absolutely feels like death. And if there is one thing I wish I had learned a little bit sooner, was like, you are going to be afraid. Being afraid and feeling afraid is not an option. The only thing that's an option is like, what are you going to do about it? So you don't try something, you're never going to get what you want. If you try something, there's at least a 50% chance you're going to get it, and that's the best you're going to get. So go ahead, try it. You know, what's the worst that will happen? You'll fail. Okay, then you sit down, you recover, and you try again. You know, that's what I would tell people. Just try it.
I would say if you're looking to start something, make sure it's something you're really passionate about. And if the people in your circle don't see your vision, align yourself with people who do. You know, you can use that as your motivation to say, oh, I'm going to show you, I'm not going to do it anyway. But, you know, putting people around you to kind of like, you know, bounce ideas off of, I mean, like Long Island Women in Tech is actually a great safe place to talk and judgment-free zone where, you know, you can come in and talk to somebody or just reach out and maybe, you know, you can align yourself with somebody like a mentor there. But, you know, don't listen to people around you who don't see your vision. You should just go and do it regardless.
So I'm going to piggyback off of both of their ideas a bit. My biggest aha moment was about, you know, 7 years ago. Maybe it's 7 years ago, I'm trying to think. 7 years ago, I realized I only knew people within the current job I was in. All right, which is great because everyone knew me too, and I was doing great within my company, and it was, you know, 15,000 people worked at this company, so what's the big deal? Why did I need to branch out? Well, I realized that my biggest shortcoming in my career was that I didn't know how to network. And I know one of the key things with Long Island Women in Tech was me forcing myself to build my own network outside of my comfort zone. So I always say this to students, even high school students, even kids, right? My kids' age, 8 and 12. So I even say to them, always find a new connection. Wherever you go, find a way to connect with someone on a real level and follow up with them. Because if you do that, you start building this network of people to help you. Now, being that my parents are immigrants, they didn't have what you'd call legacy. Do you know what legacy is, right? So legacy.
Tell us what legacy is.
So legacy happens to be if you go to a college, for example, that college can help introduce you to people within industry after you graduate. I didn't have that. So I look at that and I say, I have to build my own legacy, right? I have to build my own connections. And now it's almost a second nature now, right? I learned how to do it. I should have done it 20 years ago. I wish I had. But now I am doing it every single day. And I tell students, if you have to get experience and you have to have a network in order to get a job. It is not about just that degree. And I think that is the biggest advice I could give to somebody here. You don't have to just take the boot camp, right, in tech. You don't have to just do those things. Build your network and the jobs will flow.
You know, a friend in my head by the name of Serena Williams says something similar. Let's see what she has to say about that and more.
Professional athlete and tennis champion Serena Williams says that the success of every woman should be in the inspiration to another. It has been proven by a 2018 Harvard Business Review article entitled, "Do Women's Networking Events Move the Needle on Equality?" that if women network and connect with each other, they can exponentially increase their success either by earning a promotion or a pay increase of 10%.
So Serena can say nor do no wrong. She talks about networking, which you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
So what is your best networking tip? You know, is it just a hi and a wink? You know, is it give me your number? Like, I mean, I know there's an art to it. So what has been your best strategy?
You have to be really authentic. People can, and personally for me, and I've not done research, just figure out if this is true for other women as well. Engineers tend to be introverted, and lots of them, boy or girl, or man or woman, they tend to be introverted, which means that we don't really like talking to people unless there is a good reason to talk to them, in which case we will talk their ear off, right? Yes. But to try and expand your network, the traditional method of just walking into a room and introducing yourself and saying hello and getting their number and connecting with them on LinkedIn, that just doesn't work for me, right? I have to have an actual personal connection, at which point, like, you have to kind of get to know the person a little bit. Maybe you're interacting with them for a specific purpose or a specific reason. And this has been like a great thing that I've been able to teach myself. I only also recently realized I was the terrible networker. But being able to, like, if you're going to reach out to somebody, let's say on LinkedIn, have a reason for why you're reaching out to them and be authentic about that reason, and don't waste their time, right? Don't waste their time. Their time in general is the most valuable commodity. If you're going to ask for somebody's time, make sure it's worth it. So don't waste their time, and don't offer up your time for free either. Like, free not in terms of money, but like have it be purposeful. So make every interaction be purposeful, even if it's a small purpose. Yeah.
Time is money.
It is.
I was just about to say ditto right after that. I'm just going to say that. I was going to say something a little bit similar, like just even LinkedIn. I know what's not a good thing to do is I get so many messages on there from people trying to network, and it's like, hey, here, let me try to sell you, and that's like their value, which just it gets deleted. You know, I just don't react or respond to that. Being authentic is probably the best thing, and how you could bring value to somebody and show that, and not waste time, just like Neetu said. At like any networking events, I feel great if I met one person and made one great connection, and not be like a business card gatherer. And I actually stopped kind of bringing them. I know it sounds bad, but the networking
I don't
events,
have them.
I don't even hand them out half the time, because it's like, well, I don't need to be sold to. That's what ended up happening. I got like, I got emails from people for like products and things like Herbalife at one event. I'm like, why are you sending that to me? That has nothing to do with what I do in my business, and that's not adding any value. So being authentic and transparent and offering up a little bit of value and seeing how you could maybe help each other, that would probably be the best tip I could give.
So I have two tips. One that someone else had given me a while ago, and I forget who it was, but it's the number 3, right? So every networking event I attend, I connect with at least 3 people on an authentic level, and follow up with them. So it's not just, oh, let's connect on LinkedIn and now we are socially networked together, or here's my business card. It's, let's connect, and do you have 5 minutes next week so we can connect on this subject? And when you talked about authenticity, I think it's really important to have gives and gets. Similar to social media marketing, you want to make sure you're giving more than you get. So when you're networking, I find ways that I can give to others. Hey, I've done that type of project before. In my conversation with someone, I'm trying to build up what their challenges are. I'm trying to solve their problems. Hey, it's an engineer thing in me, right? So what I find is, if I give more, then I will get more. So I don't try to ask for something. I ask for 5 minutes, and I get a lot more afterwards, because I'm giving myself and giving my skills to others.
You guys are giving me a lot. You're giving me a lot, you know. And so you're giving me, I have to give back. I'll get back to you on that. But I'm sure the person who's watching is like, well, I want to give too, and I want to get. So let's get right to it, because it's coming down to that last minute, which is always the hardest part when you're having a good time with wonderful, talented, and phenomenal women. So first, how do people connect to Long Island Women in Tech?
So very simply, we have a website. It's liwomenintech.com. You could also connect with us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Leanne over here actually runs all those channels for us on a social media level, so she's there. It's real humans behind these channels here. So absolutely, you can sign up on our website, liwomenintech.com, and that will get you on our distribution list, so you know when the next event is happening or where you can participate. My favorite thing is, if you're having trouble networking and finding a job or doing something, volunteer. So if you volunteer for Long Island Women in Tech, you get inside our network really quickly. That's helped a lot of people grow within their careers. Just volunteering for an hour, and they're able to contribute to the community, but also get so much out of it.
Well, I'm on the Slack group, and clearly I've been impacted because we're sitting here together.
Yes.
And I'm learning a lot.
You slacked, and I responded, and you two responded, and so did Leanne.
Yeah, you guys respond, and you are about your time. We're like, look, we gonna get on a Slack conference call. I was like, I'm ready. And then how do, so if people want to connect outside, so going back to those 5 minutes, how do people get 5 minutes with each of you to talk about whatever your business, being a woman in business, an entrepreneur?
I'm on LinkedIn and Twitter, and you can email me at neetooR@gmail.com.
I'm all over social, so either LinkedIn, Twitter, my business Facebook page for Social Vibe Marketing. Any of those are perfect.
So to get in touch with the Long Island Women in Tech, we have a very simple way. Go to our website. You can email us, liwomenintech.com. To get in touch with me, you could definitely connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on that channel. I'm also very active on Twitter at Stefana Muller.
Well, it's always so hard for me to say goodbye. But it is just for a short moment. So I want to thank my guests, my panelists, for sharing so much insight. It was extremely powerful and really powerful. I picked up some things like, oh, I didn't do that in the last networking event. So thank you so much for giving me your valuable time. I appreciate that. If you want to connect with us at North Shore Television, you can email us at the address on your screen, or you can reach out at any one of your social media handles. And you know what? There's human running hours too. So we're hitting the mark there. Kobe Yamada says, follow your dreams because they know their way. So please follow your dreams. I'm your host, Karleen Leveille. Thank you so much for watching.